Before I begin this video, there are two things I'd like to mention. First, all the gameplay footage in this video might not be of the best quality. Since this is my first attempt at a proper scripted video, I decided to try to record my own gameplay footage. Secondly, this review is going to be biased, plain and simple. I will try and give Sonic 3 & Knuckles a fair shakedown, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. My history with it is a long one, going back to when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I'd say sometime probably in the mid-2000s. Nostalgia may blind me somewhat to the flaws of this game, but I know from personal experience that it isn't perfect. With that out of the way, let's begin the review proper with a very brief bit of history. Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 were both landmark titles for the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive if you live in Europe or Japan. Though I still hold the opinion that Sonic 1 has not held up super well, and Sonic 2 is a flawed but great game overall. Don't get me started on Sonic CD. They both sold well and helped catapult the Genesis and Sega as a whole to stardom practically overnight. To maintain this success, development on Sonic 3 was inevitable. So, in mid-1993, work began. Quickly, the game became larger than was initially expected, and there were worries about how to fit the full game onto the cartridge. At the same time, in North America, Sega had a promotional deal with McDonald's to tie into the game. With the deadline for this promotion fast approaching, Sega had to come up with a solution. The solution they came up with was to cut the game in half. The result of this decision was that the first half of the game, known as Sonic 3, would launch in February of 1994. Later in that year, in October, Sonic & Knuckles, which was the second half of the original Sonic 3, was released. Featuring lock-on technology, Sonic & Knuckles was able to pair up with Sonic 3 to create Sonic 3 & Knuckles, the intended experience of the original Sonic 3. As a bonus, you could lock on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 to play as Knuckles in that game. Locking on Sonic 1 would let you play new Blue Sphere stages, and a lot of them. And when I say a lot, I don't just mean, 30 or 40 stages. No, I mean a couple, not even just a couple, quite a few million stages, since they were all randomly generated. Now, for the game itself. Sonic 3 & Knuckles makes an immediate impression on you with its title screen. A catchy tune plays, with an odd claymation Sonic wagging his finger at you, as Tails pilots the tornado in the background. Starting the game brings you to something completely new to the Genesis Sonic games, a save feature, with 8 save slots. This is a very welcome addition, especially for shorter play sessions. Upon starting a new file, a short cutscene plays. We see Super Sonic flying over some water onto a strange island, with Tails following behind in the tornado. Soon after Super Sonic arrives on the island, however, a strange red echidna punches the Chaos Emeralds right out of him, steals them, chuckles at you, and runs away. This in-game cutscene flows right into the gameplay, which keeps the game flowing at a good pace. One YouTuber I often watch, Exoparadigm Gamer, posits that the purpose of story in games is to contextualize and motivate gameplay. Now I would argue that Sonic 3 & Knuckles does this excellently. Since the cutscene transfers right into gameplay, the player's motivation to catch the bad guy, who just stole their possessions, is uninterrupted, keeping the player on edge and wanting to pursue the perceived bad guy, providing motivation to play through the level. This is where I'd like to discuss the game's presentation. I'm just going to lay all my cards on the table. This game is one of the best looking and sounding games of the 16-bit era. The sprites and backgrounds are lush and full of detail and personality. Every location pops with vibrant colors. The game simply looks gorgeous and, I would argue, is a high watermark for sprite-based games in general. As for the music, what is there to say at this point? And yes, before someone brings it up, I know that Michael Jackson and people who worked closely with him made contributions to the game's soundtrack. There are so many fantastic tracks that I can mention, but honestly, I don't need to bother. Just go listen to the game's music for yourself. While it isn't quite my absolute favorite soundtrack in the series, Unleashed, it's certainly up there. The next thing I should probably discuss is the 3 playable characters. First up is Sonic, who primarily plays the way he did in Sonic 2, with 2 main differences. The first is that he now has the Instant Shield, a maneuver that both gives Sonic a little more range on his attacks and gives him some minor invincibility frames. The one other thing that Sonic has in this game to differentiate himself from Tails and Knuckles is that he can use the primary abilities of the 3 new elemental shields, which replace the only one-size-fits-all shield found in previous games. The Flame Shield lets Sonic perform a mid-air dash, useful for getting momentum quickly. The Thunder Shield lets Sonic perform a double jump in the air, which is great for maneuvering or platforming, and the Bubble Shield lets Sonic do a bounce, slam, jump thingy, and while I don't find it particularly useful, it is really fun to spam over and over again on the ground. These shields do also have universal properties that apply to every character when equipped, not just Sonic. The Flame Shield protects the character from fire and fire hazards, the Thunder Shield provides protection from electrical hazards, magnetizes the certain player in certain spots in the Flying Battery Zone, and attracts nearby rings to the player. The Bubble Shield also lets players breathe underwater. All 3 projectiles will also reflect minor projectiles. Anyways, getting back to our other 2 playable characters, Tails returns from Sonic 2, finally letting the players use his tails to fly in-game, and not just as part of a respawn animation. He can also swim underwater, though I've never really found this to be that useful. Moving on to Knuckles, who is introduced in this game, he has a nerfed jump as a trade-off for being able to climb walls and glide through the air. Since he has these abilities, Knuckles has a somewhat altered campaign, with different routes and story beats from those of Sonic, and Tails, since he and Sonic do share the same campaign. However, the difference in level routes does start to become less and less, I would say, around the halfway point, which is where the Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game begins. Speaking of paths, I guess this is the best segue I have to start talking about the level design. Well, I actually don't know. I'm not really that experienced when it comes to game design and recognizing it myself. This game has some pretty freaking awesome level design. It, for the most part, employs general traditional Sonic level design perfected, just honed to a T. That is, rewarding mastery of play with faster paths to cut down on time spent in levels on subsequent playthroughs. This provides an incentive to come back and to improve at the game, which becomes an addictive feedback loop that makes you keep wanting to get better and better so you can lower your times. It's a great design philosophy, and I love it. Alright, and I think that just about wraps it up. I know this was a very short video, but it's my first real time attempting anything resembling, scripted content on this channel, and I do hope to improve my content with time and experience. If you guys have any suggestions for improvements, ideas for other games to play or review, or any questions, comments, or thoughts from me in general, make yourselves heard. Let me know in the comments below. Oh, and one more thing before I go. This channel somehow just hit over 1,000 subscribers? I have no idea how it happened. Well, yes I do, because apparently the YouTube algorithm likes Family Guy episodes. But I digress. I'd like to thank you guys a ton for all that support. It means a lot to me, and I'll do my best to keep making original content to entertain you guys in the future. With that, I'll see you guys next time around. Have a great day.